Welcome to It's Okay, Habibi. In this first episode, Noel and I are unpacking everything from career milestones to marriage expectations, cultural traditions, and how past relationships shape the way we move forward. And of course, we're breaking down why this podcast exists and what It's Okay, Habibi really means to us. Let's jump in. All right, a year in the making. We're here.
It.
Okay. You kick us off. I feel like I trust you to lead
Oh
us.
gosh. Oh gosh. Well, let's kick it off by saying that we recorded four before. Some of them were scripted and some were not scripted, just to feel out what we want. And then we decided this is the best format, like felt more true to who we are. So here we are. Yeah, it took like 5 times, but basically there's really no point of it. I don't know why people would want to listen to this. They might enjoy it. I know I would probably enjoy just being like a fly on the wall somewhere on like a conversation like this.
Yeah, I'm
What do
excited.
you think?
I think it's good. I think yeah, being on the fly on the wall with us specifically is really cool because like some of the conversation pieces that we've had since I've met you in the last like year, right, is like a like identity stuff, culture stuff, difference of opinion stuff where we've gone in on each other, genocide stuff, like missing home stuff. All of that I think is like super relatable, and that's why we were like people need to like hear us talk to each other because of A, the way we handle each other with love, and B, like the shit we're going through is not easy, and it's not like just a unique situation to us. Like it's
Uh-huh.
it's a very universal kind of thing, especially when it comes to, I don't want to say that like the immigrant story, but like I guess like the immigrant story, yeah, like just being from abroad and trying to like find your place.
Yep, I agree. And I think one of the big things is like we went back and forth on like the name of the podcast and we landed on It's Okay, Habibi. And I think understanding the name and why did we decide on this name would make more sense as to why we're doing this and then what do you get out of, this podcast. But it's okay, Habibi. I think it's the best part of it is one, it's okay. It could be it's okay, or it's okay as in like it's gonna be fine, or you might not know the answer and that's okay as well. So I guess most of our conversation, you and I, is just we're just trying to figure out life about everything, relationship, work, purpose, where we're at, where we want to be, where's home, like so many different things, relationship with like families and friends and I guess romantic relationship and platonic relationship. So it's like a mix of everything. And Habibi is more of like my love. Like it's gonna be okay, my love. Like it's gonna be okay. And what inspired the Habibi for me is you always ending your calls or like when you call me, hi, my love, or you send me a message like, hey, my love. So I think this is very like endearing and sweet, something that I really love about you. And that's why I
Habibi.
was like, yeah, we need to like just slide it in there and like it just works. It's okay, Habibi. So yeah,
Yeah, I love
that's
it. And
kind
we
of the
went we
thought
went through
behind it.
I think that's a perfect. I love that you came up with that too because we went through so many different options, and like I don't know why we obsessed so much about a name, but I actually think it makes sense because the right one, just like a person, a job, anything, like when it feels right, it just like you said it's okay, Habibi, and I was like that's it. Like 100%. Yes.
It's very chill, relaxing, because I feel like we did go back and forth about like how do we want it to be and everything to be perfect. And I guess as we more talk about our connection and the conversation we're having and business or like side hustle that we're trying to work on or whatnot, a lot of time we kind of get hung up on it has to be perfect. And I think that's what's so nice about this podcast that is really not. Like we're just gonna show up in like a sweater, be chill, just connect, catch up, and just go through life and just, see how it goes down the road. But yeah, so that's I guess that's like the kickoff is really just a chill conversation, and
So yeah, I have news.
I want to hear it all.
Okay, so we started talking, my partner and I, about marriage. And so now we've entered a whole different world of decision making. You look like all of that hit you and you were like, talk to me about this offline.
Yes. Well, no, no. Okay, okay. Let's go there. Let's go there.
Yeah, so we started talking marriage, and obviously I'll keep it like real surface for this because I want my private life to be private. But yeah, we started talking marriage, and I think like some things that I would love to talk about down the line is like I think the decision making of what that looks like, and it's like down to like the religious process and how that looks. And I like there was a point where it was like, oh, this is how it's gonna be, like the sheikh, the imam, whatever is gonna like your brother's gonna kind of give you away. You're not even in the room. And I was like, what you mean I'm not in the room? Like, what do you mean? And at first I was like, nah, nah, nah. Like his family is probably just like different or like more whatever. And then I called, my sister and she was like, yeah, you can be in the house, but like you're not gonna be in the room. And so I was like, okay, like learning more and more, I guess, about traditions and cultures. Mine specifically, as you know, this whole year has been like getting to know what it is to be Arab, what it is to be Palestinian, and what it is to me or you. But yeah, so I'm navigating that process now, and it's an interesting process.
This is very traditional way. How are you feeling about it?
At first, I'm not gonna lie. At first, I was like, as I told you, I was like, well, what in the patriarchy is this? Like but then I don't know, like watching like some clips of how it looks and like talking to like other women who have gone through it, it's like actually sounds like really beautiful and endearing. And you could even like hear in certain videos like the women in the next room like doing the like well, as soon because you can hear everything. And I just do think that's beautiful. And I think that's actually gonna be a beautiful moment for my brother to be able to do that. As you know, my daddy's not here. So it would be cool for my brother to do that. I think what I'm going to want to make sure that I have is that like there is like a party of celebration mixed, with men and women. That's something I definitely want and, will and happens in the culture. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the fact that like he had, although Arab has like two different cultures that are not Palestinian. So I'm excited to see how that's going to go in, what that wardrobe's going to be. Like, I'm actually excited for kind of a fashion show. But yeah, I think right now it's just so preliminary. It's like we're still also going through all the decisions that you would make when forming a union. What does child rearing look like? What do finances look like? Where would we live? Like, what does decision making look like? So it's like once we make all those decisions and find ourselves in agreement on the other side of all of those decisions, then we can move forward with like the actual marriage. So it's really exciting because we're talking marriage, but as I've looped my siblings in and told them like this is the conversations we're having now, we're still very methodically and carefully moving forward.
Wow. I'm processing everything. I know you mentioned it, offline before, so I was prepared for it, but like it feels like it's happening. It feels like it's getting more real now.
Yeah,
So I do have a question. What was your concern about not being in the room? What is it? What is it about it that was, I mean, I grew up seeing it, not in my direct religion, but I've seen it like in movies or shows or like neighbors or whatnot that usually that's what they do. So I never took a moment to think about it because it was just like that's how it is. Like, that's just how it goes. But what is it about you? What is it? What are you thinking? What was it about the I want to be in a room that was weird or off, and then now that it's like I kind of like that it's not.
I think this actually draws upon like so much that we've talked about before is like although was born in Palestine, grew up in the West. So I grew up seeing weddings you walk down the aisle, still patriarchal, right? A patriarchal, like the father still gives you away ideally. And then like I see the ceremony, always a priest, right? And then I learned as I got older, you could have it non-denominational. But like I never really, like how you said you grew up like watching this, so it was normal to you. I grew up with something else being drilled in as normal. And so there was kind of a culture shock in like as I'm learning again what it is to be Arab and like getting closer to the religion. Like, like last year was the first time I fasted for Ramadan in like whatever, in at least a decade. And it was because of what we were witnessing in Gaza. So like I am reconnecting, and a lot of it is like unlearning what my preferences might have been and figuring out like, okay, how do I really feel about that? So I guess to answer your question, at first I didn't like the thought of it because my only ideas of weddings have been you looking into my eyes, me looking into yours and saying I love you in front of everybody and like doing vows and all that. But I hadn't been exposed to different forms of what it looks like.
Does it feel that I know it's traditional and there's beauty in that, but not growing into that and seeing this every day, does it feel like you are not making the decision yourself? It's like that decision has been happening between like your brother and like your future husband. I do, but I don't agree with it. Like I don't like agree or disagree that it is that, but this is the perception that someone who is not used to see that on the every day, that's how they could see it. I
And I
guess some listener might be like, I'm not even following, I don't even know what's going on. But just to explain it like really high level, traditionally is that the husband to be would show up to the bride's house and then they would ask usually, the dad or the brother, for the hand of like, the bride to be. But usually like the bride is not in her room. Actually thinking about it, I mean, it does happen in the Western culture. It just happens differently. Traditionally, usually the man would come and ask for the bride's dad, like for her hand, but usually it's in private and it's more of like, can I have your blessings? So it's kind of similar. The only difference in the Middle East is that you actually it's like planned out. Where like we're coming this day, everybody's getting ready, the men are in the room, the women's are in a different room. And then I grew up watching it on like Egyptian shows where like the woman comes up with the shutterbot and
Yeah,
like a
so wait,
tray
you're
of like
describing like a
drinks and orange
tulba
juice.
though, right? Like you're
Yeah.
just yeah, the asking for the hand, that's also gonna happen. I don't know when that is, but the actual also like day of
But you're talking about the day of the wedding because okay. So okay, well that you need to walk me through because I'm not familiar with that.
bruh, me either. So as
So hold on. You will not be in the room. Your brother would sign, and your husband to be will sign,
and the
and you
shit.
don't sign. Well, you do sign though at the
Okay,
afterwards.
so no, I will sign like my own like okay, so as I understand it so
Yeah,
far, right? I'm
yeah,
learning
yeah, yeah.
whoever's listening to this, like comment your processes, please, because like I'm learning it. But
Or
like
comment and tell us what traditionally it goes like. Like if you're more familiar with the process, please drop it in the chat or in the comments.
yeah. So okay, so first what you were describing, Noel, is like the tulba, the asking of the hand. And that's like a day where yes, he comes with his representatives to my family and then we like yeah, and then there's a movie called Omar about Palestinians, which there's a scene in which they do a tulba, so go watch that movie. But yeah, so then like my role would be to come like serve tea and then like and then like the families would talk. This is how I understand it, I could be wrong. The families would talk, right? And then if the family, let's say your mother and father agree, then they would come to you and they would say, do you agree, do you want him? And then you would say yes or no. And then like whatever, if you expect that he's coming and you wanted him, then you say yes, and then great, now you're engaged. Then comes the day of the wedding. I'm talking Palestinian culture. Then comes the day of the like katab al-iktab, the writing of the contract, I guess. I don't know. And so the sheikh, like you said, it could be at the mosque or the sheikh could come to a hall, like a wedding hall or a house. And then like I think this was on Love is Blind Habibi too. Like they put the handkerchief over the hands or
Uh,
whatever, and they hold hands, the man kind of giving you away and, and the guy, the groom, hold hands and they make promises about like basically one man was responsible to take care of you, right? Like your father. and then he's now entrusting another man to take care of you. So I do think that's deeply beautiful if you are the father who actually like took care of your daughter, right? And you are
Mm.
deeply entrusting another man to do it, which again, another reason that I'm like, that's actually, had I grown up with like a fully two-parent household and like a good relationship with my dad, Allah yarhamu, like I think that would be like send me to tears immediately thinking about
Mhm.
that. But anyway, yeah, then they say whatever they say. I previously already knowing that I agree to this marriage, allow my brother or whatever, whoever's representing me to be my proxy and sign for me. So yes, I think they signed for me.
But I know you do end up signing as well afterwards.
I'm guessing, yeah, eventually I have to sign my own marriage certificate, right? And I think
Yeah,
like it's also like, there's also this could be like a 2 hour long conversation, but there's also a conversation about religiously, right? Mahir or Mahir, like how much he's like going to give you to marry him. And I'm sure there's a more respectful way to phrase that, and I'll figure it
there
out
is. Can
later.
I add
Yeah,
to
you
that?
do that. You do that part so I don't get boycotted.
Because back in the days, women did not used to work. So the meher was something really important as sort of insurance that in case something happens down the road and like, let's say mahallah, like a divorce happens or whatnot, at least that is some sort of financial security so that you can keep going on with life. I know this changes with time because like now women and men, are working. The laws are different. Where like now if there's a divorce, like you split everything half and half, especially in the Western world. But that was more common, I would say, especially for Islamic marriages in the Middle East. I don't recall Christians do that. However, it was kind of like unspoken where like they would get like the necklaces of gold or something for the bride from like the mother of the groom or something like that. So it was kind of similar, but it's not as talked about as like officially here, where it's like the meher. Um,
Yeah. Oh, which I
but
never heard that word
yes,
until about a year again, like homecoming to Arab culture. I
yeah,
didn't even know that word until a year ago. So they also when the ceremony is happening, the sheikh will be like, if we want to announce it out loud, if you don't want to announce it out loud, it doesn't have to be, but like the basically the dowry of whatever has been agreed upon of this amount. And then there's also like the divorce amount, like where it's like if it doesn't work out, this is how much he's also gonna give her.
yeah. It's kind of like a prenup if you think about it.
Yeah.
I know some people could be weirded out about it. I speak highly of prenups. I think it's actually really good to have. So it's actually this like you know, back in the days way of like doing prenups because there wasn't really laws to protect you. So I guess it was through religion. That's the way to for the basically the women to feel safe and secure because it's a big deal.
I agree, and I think it's great actually because, like, first I do want to address this now. Uh, as a Muslim woman, like we grow up, especially in the West, hearing how like ridiculous Islam is towards women and blah blah blah, and then you like actually go look up like the rights of women under Islam, and it's amazing. I'm not gonna go through a list now, especially because I can't repeat it off the top of my head. But like there are so many protections in there, especially around when you get married, how he's supposed to treat you, what the divorce would look like, how he's supposed to take care of you before and after. So I'm kind of like leaning into all that to say like there have been protections here, especially as like marrying a Muslim. It's like that's how we're gonna run our household. If again this goes through, and like this is not an announcement of marriage. This is a we're having serious conversations, and this is what serious conversations look like, to
Yeah, I mean,
be clear.
yeah, and this is really important because like you said, being like growing up in the West, like you're trying to now understand like how it works in the East and you're like, is this something that I want? And honestly, like these are great conversations to have because if you don't have that, like what else are you gonna talk about? Like this is just one of those conversations that you're gonna need to have. Yeah, it's not an announcement of marriage, but it's good that it's happening. So
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, I guess that's more to come on that. Like I said, we're talking all these other things, but looping you and I guess everybody in on that process because I think it's an interesting one to talk through. And then also there's the question of like wedding expenses and like, I called one friend just to be like, what was that like? And she immediately got super stressed out. And she was just like, it was a lot of money. I was like, did you recoup what you spent on it from like wedding guests? And it was like, no, not at all. So There's also that, like the conversation. I guess this would actually be a cool poll. Like, would you rather have like a non-wedding or like a like kind of dinner kind of thing with like the very smallest number of people and save all your money for traveling, a house, like to get your life started? Or will you like, do you need that party? Do you need that blowout party?
Yep. Yep. So my financial brain is kicking in right
They
now,
said
and I'm like
they should,
doing the
yes.
math and like I do have to say, I mean, an answer for that is what is it that is important for both of you? And I'm really talking about truly what is really important for both of you because a lot of people, and I'm talking about including like within my family and outside like friends or people that we know, they actually go into weddings where like they're just trying to please the parents because that's the only kid or that's the first kid or like what if people are gonna say about the wedding of my kids or them for their friends. Oh, I went to this friend's wedding and that's what they did. So like it's easy to just lose yourself through that and convince yourself. At the end of the day, it's about what is it that you really want? Like, what is it that you really, really is important for you? My wedding was $4,000.
No way,
And
really? It looks
yes,
so good.
yeah, it was very on budget. We had 40 people in the wedding. We did the ceremony on one day and we did the party on a separate day. The ceremony was really, really small. We had like 10 people in it. And the actual party, we did it like 2 weeks later where we had people fly in from other states and whatnot. And then the whole thing cost us $4,000. And the rest of the budget that we had, we didn't put it on the wedding. We actually took 2 weeks and went on a road trip in California for the honeymoon. So we wanted to put that money for the honeymoon, but that's what was important for us more than the
Wait, how did
actual
you keep it at $4,000? Like, what was your head count? Because, like, I saw what the wedding pictures.
40,
It's fancy.
40, yes, it was 40 people. The restaurant that we went with, and I'm talking, we got married 7 years ago, so I know pricing were different too. Um, but we used a lot of like, we did a lot ourselves. And then like we had a friend who used to be a florist. He was like, "Hey, I'll do the flowers for the table, then I'll do your boutonniere. Like that's my present for you." I was like, "Oh, thank you." And then we had other people, like we had one of our family members who was getting married that she was generous enough to just to be like, "Hey, I'm getting married." And it was like a couple months later, and then she had like little like vases that you put like a centerpiece, and she was like, "Do you guys want to use it for your wedding?" We're like, "Okay." But it wasn't things that we needed in the moment per se, but it was like people just started to be like, "Hey, would you like that?" I was like, "Okay, sure." But honestly, it was just so simple because we wanted the simplicity end of the wedding. Like we didn't go crazy on decoration or flowers or music or everything, but that's what we wanted. Like that's what was important for us. Is just very, very like small group of people and then it was the best. And I'm thinking about how to say that, but we have had feedback after the wedding from a lot of people that they said it was even a nicer wedding than a lot of those big ones because people felt like there was very um like intimate and we were able to be with 40 people. That's not a
Yeah.
lot. Like that's what you do on like a birthday party.
Yeah.
So we were able to really, really be with all the people and like everybody was just like dancing together and be together. So, I
Wow.
don't know. It was the best. It was the best.
I've always envisioned like a backyard wedding twilight style, like lights, trees. But I think, with what's ahead of me, that's not what can happen. Like I don't think it would end up if it is a party, based on what I'm hearing, it's gonna be a lot of people.
It is, and it's expensive. Like just the venue is usually extremely expensive.
Yeah. So stuff to decide. Cool, 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 cool. But
Oh
yeah,
my God, you're talking about a wedding. I'm processing.
it's okay. Like I said,
So
decisions
hold on.
are, you know,
If everything goes well, are we talking like 2025 or like after that?
I don't want to say.
Okay, 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 okay. But it was just processing. We'll talk offline, maybe.
I'm about to like text you right now. Like,
I
yeah.
know, it's just that's fine. I was just thinking like how fast is this moving or how early on, but I'm excited for you, honestly. So we'll
Yeah, like
see.
when I talked to my brother, he was like, I'm proud of like the steps that you're taking. Like I went into detail about like our thought processes and like, how we're making sure that that we feel good about this. I mean, other than like the fact that I love the guy, but like to make sure that it's not just like, oh, I'm so in love. Now let me like shape the rest of my life off of this feeling, right? Like how do you introduce logic with emotion? So I think that's why I think that's why partly even I'm scared where I'm like, it's not an announcement. Like it's okay, like because, and my brother said something really sweet actually when I spoke to him. I think he felt that I was like trying real hard to like rationalize. And he was like, it's always gonna be scary. Like he was like, you're not ever gonna be prepared for the unknown. So at the end of the day, like if your values are aligned and you feel like you feel seen, you feel heard, you feel good, then everything else will come. But like fear is just,
100%.
yeah. So I'm trying to also embrace like the hesitation because as but people don't know, I'm a commitment a phobe. It's very terrifying to think about making like a lifelong decision.
Yeah. No, that is definitely scary. But I guess like your brother said, if you know that you both are aligned on like what you want in your life, I mean, that's all what matters. And I know for a lot of people, this could feel or sound fast, or even maybe for you, you might feel that it's fast because like a lot of like our new generation, like we drag things on. But I grew up in the Middle East where like my dad met my mom. I think they got engaged after like a month or two, and then they were engaged for like 5 months, and then they got married or something like that. Like the whole process was like 6 to 7 months. But like the engagement is actually the period where like you go in and like it's like the dating that we do here. But nowadays people do like 2 to 3 years of dating.
I don't think you need that long. I mean, like to
It
each his own.
depends. For each
Yeah.
their own, yeah. I mean, I'm not the one to judge because I proposed to my husband in 3 months. Like we met in April, proposed in September, we got married in December. I just knew. I just knew. I just knew. And I think we talked about that offline before, is there's severe big red flags that are important for me to know, and I didn't see any of that. And what I talk about is that person like an addict of something, or and I'm not this is not to say that it's a bad thing, but it's just something that you need more time to process and see like how are you gonna work through. There was literally nothing like any addiction or let's say gambling or alcohol or like something that is like or like the way you spend your money, even like the day to day. Like we were just so aligned on everything. Like even just like the the want and need to grow and like want to do something in life and future and aligned, and like how we had the same love and care for our moms and whatnot. So there was so many similarities that overshadowed anything else. Even, within that period, the things that it overshadowed, it was really, really stupid. It was like talking about dishes or something. Like it was very minor. So I don't know. It's just like when you know, you know. And honestly, I was always like that. I don't know if that comes from the Middle Eastern mentality, but I've dated in Lebanon. Like I've dated, you know, girls for like 2 years, and I ended up breaking up because it was like it's not gonna work out. But to be honest, I was not ready financially at that point either. So like I was at a different age. Like when I met my husband, I was 27. When I was dating in Lebanon, I was in like my teens and like early 20s. So a very different place in my life. Not that I was rich when you know, married him. I was no, we were literally like both like startups, but it was just different. I had my own place. In Lebanon, I was still living with my family. It's a different tradition. It's just like I'm dating someone, but like where I don't even have money to pay for college.
No, I think that's a good point too. Like I think like when I was younger, I spent like 3, 4 years with different people, wasting honestly my time or learning lessons, let's say, instead of like wasting time, like learning a lot of lessons. But like I think now I'm at the age and like the experience level. It's not just age, but just like I've done enough to know exactly what you said, like what my red flags are and like what feels good and doesn't feel good. And like, for example, with my ex, like I always had like a bad feeling in my stomach that I just ignored all the time. for a long time,
Yeah.
and like here that doesn't exist. Like I haven't had any kind of like gut pain. All my pain has been in my head, like confusing myself or like, like over analyzing or rightly analyzing things that would have lifelong implications. But there's no bad feeling at all. And that feels nice. It's peaceful.
I wonder if it's stress.
It is 100%. Like it goes back to values, like his character from, I think this is one of the first things I told you about him is like that's what actually made me look at him from friend zone to like
Hmm.
want I want to do more.
Yeah.
It was like I really appreciated his character. He was just so like very clearly grounded in principle and like without saying it that I don't know. I just you can trust it whether you're
Yeah.
his girlfriend or friend or like coworker. Like I don't know. That's the perception I have is like I just feel so safe.
I'm so happy for you. Yeah, I think trust is the biggest thing. Like, just to answer that question of the maybe how do you know? And people say like you know. I guess it's just trust. You just trust that that person has the best intentions. And even if things get rough, you still trust it. You just know that we can work through it. There's no malice, I guess, behind it or what, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's like specifically in this situation, like if for any reason it didn't work out, like I do see it being a situation again where I'm not gonna get played, I'm not gonna get lied to, I'm just gonna get told like, hey, this is feeling kind of toxic. Like maybe we should end it, as opposed to like what has happened in the past to me.
Yeah.
And so I think that feels really good.
That's really vulnerable and scary and exciting at the same time.
I mean, and like we say, inshallah khair, like inshallah good, I guess the translation
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and again, as the process develops, we will share.
I'm so excited for you.
Thank you, thank you. I think the other thing that I'm like really excited about recently is like career choices
Hmm.
we've been making. Well, by we, I mean you and I, my other partner. But like I've been getting a lot, like just sharing kudos for myself. I've been getting a lot of messages on like Instagram and stuff of people watching the Equalizer show
Hmm.
with Queen Latifah and like I don't know why it's getting so big recently because I filmed it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like people like this girl reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, I met you at the airport one time. Do you remember? I hope you don't think I'm crazy, but I saw you on television. Like, is that you?" And I was like, "Holy shit." So I just thought that that was kind of cool. Like it's popping up right when I was like, you know what? Let me put my acting career down for like at least a year. Like I'm getting hit up consistently about like, oh my God, I just saw you on TV. And I'm like, is that the universe or is that just like a nice, like, does everything have to have a meaning or could it, you know what I mean? Could it just be that it's a nice thing that happened?
Yeah, I wonder what it is. I mean, I haven't seen this show, but I wonder what is it about it that now people are going back to watch it.
I don't know. I wonder if it's streaming on a new platform or something.
Uh,
Like I'm telling you, the amount of people back to back in the last like 2, 3 weeks has been like it's been a
Interesting.
little it's been noticeable, I'll say.
Yeah. Or
I get
sometimes like if one of the actors on the show is like doing something different. Like right now, I'm obsessed with Wicked. We watched it and like I was like, oh my God, what is this? I've seen it 3 times so
Are
far
you
within,
serious? I did not
yes.
watch it.
Oh my God, it's so good. But I got so obsessed with Cynthia that my husband are like, we need to go back and rewatch everything. Like anything that Cynthia is in. But I'm saying like maybe, when like somebody does something and then like now you go back and you want to watch like their other work or something. I don't know. It could
Yeah,
be that.
no, that's possible. I mean, I have no clue why this is blowing up the way it is right now. But it's
I
some I
actually need to go watch it. I haven't seen it.
yeah,
The Equalizer.
yeah, it's with Queen Latifah and like I actually don't know who else. And it was like the director on that was like that was such a good experience. But
Hmm.
I if I'm being honest, don't really watch the show either. I don't want but I don't watch any of the shows that I've
How many episodes were you on?
won.
Which episode do you remember?
Yeah, let me go to my IMDb and I'll check. That's a good shout out. They're gonna be like, why is everyone all of a sudden watching this specific episode? Um, oh, I'll
Amel
look it up.
brought it back to life. Yeah, definitely let us know because I want to go watch it, but I want to know exactly which episode too.
Yeah, instead of watching all the seasons, it's right here. One episode, season 2, episode 16.
Okay.
I am Nina. That's my character's name.
I am Nina. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, season 2, episode 16, look for it. But that's a cool thing that's happening, so I just want to shout myself out.
Good. Wait, you didn't do the stand-up comedy, right? You were going to New York and like saw something. You had issues with like the weather or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah. So, I went to Pennsylvania with my family, and then a storm hit Saturday like night into Sunday, and the show was in New York City at the comic strip. And so Saturday, I hit up the producer, and I was just like, "Hey, like, there's a storm watch, and it's gonna be like 6 to 8 inches. I'm not driving from the Poconos to New York in that." So he was like, "Yeah, just let me know." He was so sweet about it. He was like, "Let me know if you have anybody coming to the show that will need a refund of their tickets." And I was like, "No, anybody who came to see me should still come support the other comics, like, you know." But yes, I didn't end up doing it, which was a little sad because I was gonna be like my last stand up for
I
also like
remember. Yeah.
yeah, so that didn't happen.
How was the storm? You were guys were stuck for a couple days?
We weren't really stuck because I mean we planned for a weekend in the mountains, so like it snowed. We did this thing where we had 3 cars there, so we just parked them in a row so that like getting out shoveling would just be like a breeze. So
Mm,
my brother and nephew had to shovel like 2 feet of snow, and then we all got out and it was fine. And we were staying in a community that like they they do the street cleaning or whatever.
yeah.
So we just left Monday, like late Monday, so I didn't have to be out in the streets on.
It was just a mini vacation you said, or you guys have family there?
Yeah, no, no, no. We just like we rented an air like an I don't want to name it.
Yeah,
We
like it
rented a
would.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, we rented a house in the Poconos Mountains, and then we like just had fun together, which is really
Okay.
nice. We didn't grow up doing that, and like in the last like 2, 3 years, we started doing like family trips a lot, which is really nice.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
good. That's good. That's fun. Yeah. Well, it's been crazy for me over here because I had family visiting over the holidays and then they left. And then since then, now we're talking about maybe, well, so many things, but we might be going back to the Middle East, maybe doing different countries. So we're like thinking about that, but we're still kind of waiting to make a final decision like next month because of how the situation is. But I really want to go, especially for my niece's first communion. So we're trying to plan that out.
So what
But
countries are on the list possibly?
so we were thinking about Egypt, Jordan, and Lebanon, but I think now we're just sticking to Egypt and Lebanon because it's a lot, and we've learned from prior trips that doing multiple countries gets exhausting. So we're like, okay, we'll just split, 2 countries within one trip. So that's what we're thinking.
All right, Egypt and Lebanon, which is
Uh,
funny. You're like depending on the news. I'm like it could not be in the news today and then be in the news very bad tomorrow.
True,
Not
but
Egypt so much unless it's like a spring kind of thing. But what are the odds?
yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll see. A lot of things are changing too in Lebanon. Like they just elected a new president, they had a prime minister, so we're seeing how that is going. We're just watching like how the ceasefire is going to and like how is that could affect everywhere. We're seeing how South Lebanon is doing too. Like one day, yeah, they're leaving. The next day, like no, they're still staying there. Like so there's just a lot on hold, but we'll see. Otherwise, just here, chilling,
Have you
living
been
the
watching the
dream.
coverage of like and I don't know if it's something you want to talk about, but have you been watching the coverage of like the people in Gaza going home?
But yeah.
How's that feeling knowing like um I guess yeah, what are your thoughts? What's your feedback on that?
That's a lot to process. It's a lot. I think it's hard to not say that you kind of feel numb at some point because, like, how much hurt do you just keep feeling over and over again? But even like the idea, and I know maybe I've been getting myself used to the idea of like I broke down a couple months ago thinking about all like the destruction that is happening. How if there is no building or street that you grew up into, go back to, then where are you going back to? Like, what's the point of it? I can only imagine how it feels like to know that yes, it's great that, you know, there's no more killing, there's a ceasefire, and now you can go back, but where? To what? Like the reason why when I go back to Lebanon now, like I enjoy going back to those restaurants or streets or areas or lo those specific locations that I grew up into, and it's not the actual building or like the actual food, it's just the memories through walking through those streets and whatnot. That's what gives you hope, and that's what gives you like, oh, I want to go back to make this better, to make that building look better or whatnot. So I don't know. I don't know how to. I don't know how ever. I don't know. I can't even imagine putting myself in their shoes and trying to process what it feels like to go back. Like it's so exciting, and it is a celebration that yes, there's a ceasefire, but I'm like in the aftermath, like like I guess I'm just scared of like the emotions. Like when you're trying to survive, you are not able to even process anything about anxiety or the anger or like all what you're feeling because you're just trying to like this is what's is getting me nervous now is like how is someone gonna process all of that? I don't know. I don't know. What do you think? It's just like I can't even wrap my head around it to be honest with you.
I think where my brain is, and I think first of all of that is well said, and the sentiments I've been like hearing from, people on the ground is that like what am I going home to and who am I going home to, right? We have 30,000 orphans, at least. And then like according to the Lancet, like over $200,000, 200,000 deaths, and then, like 80% or 90% of the homes destroyed across all of Gaza. So it's like a lot of people have lost all of their family. And then I saw a stat that was like, I think 40%, I have to like look for this officially, but like 40% of the families are like raising like other people's kids. And so, yeah, I don't think it's over, is like what I'm trying to say is like they're still in survival mode, and they're going to be in survival mode for a while, especially because like we know who we're dealing with. The occupier is still occupying. So I think the bombs temporarily have stopped, and I think that maybe the sounds of the 24/7 drones flying above has maybe stopped. But the survival is still there. They still don't have water. They still don't have food. Like the food trucks that are coming in are not enough to feed who's there. And then also, again, just as someone paying attention to like what's happening to like my entire home, like the West Bank is being attacked with like precision strikes right now. So they're actually dropping bombs in the West Bank. So all they did was like take like maybe there's a ceasefire in Gaza, but like Palestine is still being bombed. Like the West Bank is still being raided and mass arrests, and so it's on a full lockdown. At least last that I checked. So it's actually for me, I feel so happy for the images that I've seen of Palestinians smiling. Like that's beautiful to see. Them embracing each other like long lost twins, mother and son. Like I don't know, but the I shared a post about it today about just like watching the way that they hugged each other. I was like, I'm not hugging right. Like I'm not hugging right because this is how you hug someone you love. But I don't think it's over. I think it's just a pause in the bombing on one side of the country. I say this all the time. I don't want to end on a depressing note, but I say this all the time, like in the PAL perspective, like movie club, like for as long as we have existed, there has been war and fighting and evil. And for as long as humans will exist, there will be that. So there always needs to be light to counter the dark. And even if Palestine was freed tomorrow, like Congo's not free, Sudan, Yemen, and like even in the US, when you look at the prison industrial system, like complex. So I mean, I think it's just our job to continue to like add light, add hope, and like try to do good in the world, which is what even like conversations like our friendship have provided for each other.
Yeah,
So I feel optimistic in general because I don't plan on changing like my goal, which is just to add light.
I love that. I noticed how we both are processing different sides of it though. I don't know if you noticed that you were processing the the loss of life and the celebration of hopefully no more loss of life. And I am so hung up on the psychological aspect of it that, and that's why you notice probably like I laughed when you first asked me that question. And it's usually like when I don't know how to process my emotions, I just laugh because I just don't know how to react. And it's kind of like this, like seriously, like my brain wants to celebrate, but like my brain is just like, I get scared of the psychological aspect of it afterwards. It's like you surviving a hurricane and like have to go back. Like you see like the fires in California and like the devastation. Yes, people were not burned, but people are like literally going, watching their homes burn to the ground. They're just sobbing because it's not, they didn't just lose a house, they lost a home. It's the memories. It's how do you process all of that? Their kids can't even, like there's kids in, and I mentioned California because this is not even a genocide. I'm just talking this is like a natural thing that you might be able to process it easier than this. But like there is kids that I watch videos, their parents telling them like, okay, we're here in this like, Airbnb or whatever they're staying at for a period of time, and they're like, no, no, we don't have a home. Like we're not, like the kids are processing of like, okay, when can we go back home? Like they're nagging, like they're ready to go back. And like there is no home to go back to. Like how do
And
you
on that note,
process that as a kid?
how you process that, and like where I'm always going to bring it back to, which is like similar to Gaza, how they're like, oh, there's beautiful real estate to now buy up that we've burned down and like bombed the whole seaside. It's the same thing in like in California. I saw reports of like rent prices increasing overnight by like over 100%. So it's like capitalizing on that destruction and these, again, these families that are now searching for a new home, a new place to just
Uh-huh.
shelter. It's going to be so hard for them to find a place because of, society as it is. And then also like how there's just really rich people that can go buy up now this real estate and like turn it into something else and profit off of other people's pain.
Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up because at the end of the day there are people who just like will always capitalize off pain. But back to the trauma. You're see it's I always you're right. I always process I think in like systemic failure or something or like whatever, and then you hone in on like the individual's experience. Yeah, I
Mm.
don't know how those kids are gonna process that. Even how the adults are gonna process
Yeah,
that. Imagine having,
everyone.
yeah, not knowing what to do with your kids, not knowing how to pay for the next meal, not knowing where to get help, and then losing your home that you worked for, and knowing that the insurance companies like did whatever they did, canceled policies or whatever a couple months ahead. Yeah, it's. I think like we talked about it before, but like resetting your nervous system or like
Uh-huh.
so like in How to Do the Work, she talks a lot about like the vagus nerve. Oh my God, I'm gonna mess that up. But basically like steps to reset your nervous system. And I think in regard to like Palestinians in Gaza, I think they're just gonna need a lot of sleep. Like I know that might sound crazy, but like when your nervous system has been overworked
Uh,
for a long period of time, according to that book, it's like you're gonna be tired for a long time. They're probably just gonna be tired
yeah.
if the emergency stops. We
Yeah.
cannot end on that note. So what do we do?
No, I mean it's an okay no. I guess we need to end it because we want to keep it within the hour. But yes, to your point, I guess that's the name of the podcast is that if it's a happy conversation or if it's a bad one, I guess the takeaway as you're leaving the conversation is to maybe think about it. Think about whatever that conversation, meant to you or what you want to do about it, or you feel there's a calling for you to do something about it or not. That's okay too. But I mean, sometimes it helps to process it. Some people might feel this is really down to end like the conversation on, but like some people might feel like, yeah, I can relate to that. Like I'm feeling this and like I just didn't know how to express it or like didn't know how to maybe verbalize it. And sometimes it helps just to hear someone else going through it too or thinking about it. So it's okay, Habibi. So
It's okay, Habibi. It's okay.
yeah.
We need upbeat music and downbeat music,
Yes,
depending on how
yes,
we end it. It's okay.
yes. So we do need to wrap it up, but this is just a little taste test of like how our conversation goes. And like I can already think like if we were not recording this, that would have dragged on for 5 hours on like 700 different topics that we would talk about. But anyway, we're trying to figure out so many things. We're trying to figure out, do we want to add like a little music at the beginning? I have to figure that out. Like, how do we do that? I think I heard like if you add 10 seconds in there, that should be fine. Trying to figure out like, do we want to do Q&A down the road, or like if people have questions or find this conversation interesting and like they want to talk about specific topic or see what are our take on it, we're happy to go through that. I don't know. I mean, we're not claiming we're experts in anything. We just like analyzing stuff and talking through it, and that's all what it is. And there's no topic that is just very off and like we just won't go into.
That's true.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. What else? We're trying to figure out like the pictures or whatever, that thing you put the logo on at the beginning too. So this is still kind of like work in progress. We do have ideas of like how it comes, but I think as we go, I mean, I'll be happy to get feedback too. If someone has feedback on something, like we want to do this better. Do we want to do it like nighttime or like early morning? We were thinking as well. So,
Yeah, eventually, do we want to live stream it and like
yep,
allow people to like, come into the audience
yep.
room? Yeah,
So,
a lot to consider. But we did it. We did. I think this was solid. Like we actually went
yep,
through, like this was the most seamless and least planned of
yep.
the million attempts. So I'm excited.
I love it. I love you. Yeah, I think that's good. I hope everyone have a good week and we'll talk again next week.
Yay! Okay. All right. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, please consider leaving a comment and a review. It helps us improve and reach more people.
We're all just trying to figure it out one conversation at a time. So go easy on yourself, trust the process, and remember, it's okay, Habibi.